Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we proudly provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK, and I'm your show host today for another episode of Let's Finally Talk, which is a heart-to-heart where we explore all kinds of situations that come up when it comes to relationships. And at the core of everything, I believe, is elevated listening. So I talk about peace a lot. And today we're going to talk about the fact that peace is not something that we wait for others to agree with. It's actually a choice that we make. It's a choice we make internally, regardless of whether or not people are on board with it, whether we have the validation that we feel like we need, or we understand what's going to come as a result of choosing peace. Now, most people, in my experience, will put off peace, or they'll postpone peace because they want alignment. They want alignment from their family, from their friends, from their colleagues, from their partners, from society, from the world at large, from social media. And yet they're not happy because it's always about what someone else thinks, how someone else feels. So today we're going to look at, through the lens of elevated listening, which is something that I've trademarked, how we can explore conversations that are sustainable because we're no longer dependent upon what other people think. Now, if something's coming up for you as a result of what I'm sharing today, you might be interested in staying until the end. There's a common belief that we will have peace after we have an agreement with someone. So have you ever been at odds with someone, or you've had a discussion and it didn't go exactly the way you wanted it to, or maybe you're not speaking to someone, and then you take steps to come forward, or they take steps to come forward to try to find some agreement. And then miraculously, after that, all is forgiven, the world is a beautiful place, and we're at peace. That doesn't happen very often, because once our feelings get hurt, or once we're highly emotional about something, it's very difficult to just forget about what already happened. It's easier to forgive, but not as easy to forget. So if you're thinking that you're going to have a conversation with someone, or you're making efforts for the relationship to come back together or move to another level, that doesn't mean that afterwards you will actually have peace. So I want you to be aware of that. And if that's something that you're not comfortable with, you can ask yourself, why is it that I need to have this agreement, this alignment? Why isn't peace important enough? So if you think about what's going on in the world, regardless of where you are, there's always something that's going on. And to find internal peace is truly a gift. I don't care how much money you have, or what your status is, or what your titles are. You might go home at night and not be able to sleep because you are not at peace. So to me, peace is priceless. So the first point of today's session is that just because we have alignment doesn't mean we will have peace. We might not be in alignment with someone and we may still have peace. So isn't that ironic? The next thing is, sometimes when we disagree with someone, they may take it as conflict. So just because we don't have the same opinion as someone or we believe something in a different way, sometimes people perceive that as conflict. And so if we're in a state of conflict, can we be in a state of peace? Let's think about that. Now, while we are looking for the external validation for everyone to agree with us and, way to go, and I'm all in your corner, what is the emotional cost of actually waiting for that? And once we get it, if we do, how long will it last? How much of it do we actually believe? There are times when we as humans will agree to something just so the conversation is over. Or we will agree just to disagree. So, what is the actual core truth about what I'm talking about today? Peace is an internal decision. For you to be at peace is an internal decision. The only one who can make that decision is you. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably saying to yourself, well, this is going on in my life and that's going on in my life. We always have things going on. I know for me, when there's nothing going on, I think, okay, when's the other shoe going to drop? When is something going to happen? Because that's how life is. It's always throwing us curveballs. And it's not that we can expect that we're not going to have things come into our life. It's how we're going to deal with them. So can you be in a life that you have issues and you have circumstances, you have opportunities, but yet you're still at peace? Absolutely. Because peace comes from steadiness, from staying the course, from dealing with the stress, from dealing with the emotions, from having what I call a toolkit of tools that you can use to help you when times are challenging. It really begins when you decide you want it to begin. It's not when everyone says, okay, well, we can have peace now. You and I had a conversation. We have been talking for years. So now we can be at peace. Typically, you're still not at peace because even though you've apologized and they've apologized, there's still hard feelings. So I've referenced this before, but there's a study that's been done, and I don't know which of the Ivy Leagues did it. I don't recall, but it was basically that you can forgive someone of something, but you may not forget about what they said or did for up to 20 years. So you're no longer angry, you're no longer carrying baggage, but you have not forgotten what they said because they've shown you who they are. And when we show people who we are, then we have to deal with whatever it is that we've put out there. Now, everyone's perspective is different. How can we choose peace when we are in the presence of disagreement? So we have conflict in our life and we would still like to be at peace. Well, first of all, we have to realize that everyone has a different set of values. So here in the United States, last night was the Super Bowl, and there were people who loved the halftime performances, and there are people who didn't. So is one right and one's wrong? No, they're both right because it's how we perceive things. So that doesn't mean that if we are in a relationship with someone or a family member or a community member or a business colleague and they liked it, but we didn't, or we liked it and that they didn't, that doesn't mean that we can't have a relationship with them. That doesn't mean that we can't still be at peace. We have to be open to allowing people to have different ideas and views than what we have. And this typically is where it's difficult for people. Sometimes we are so deeply rooted in what it is that we believe that we cannot see or understand any other person's viewpoint. And so what happens? We become closed off. And when we become closed off, typically people can feel this. They can feel that we're not receptive to other stories, other sides, other opinions. We're only interested in our own. And what happens as a result of that? We typically will only align ourselves with people who want to hear what we have to say, and they're probably people who have the exact same opinions. So what ends up happening? I know in some cases, some of you will say, you know what, well, this is great. I only want to talk to people who think the same way that I do, people who feel the same way that I do. Well, what I would like to have you think about is that there's a whole world out there that we don't know anything about because we're only interested in what we're interested in. So if we open our minds to just listening, we don't have to change what we think, but we can just listen to someone else's perspective. And when we do this and we come from a place of love as opposed to a place of fear or ego, we are coming with curiosity to learn. And that frightens some people. Some people think that once they hear another person's side, maybe they'll start believing that. And what does that say about them? What does that say about us if we change our belief system? We're growing. We're actually growing. So the whole purpose of this episode is about peace is a choice. So I ask you to think right now in your life, are you living a peaceful life? Are you living a life that's filled with drama? Are you continuously feeling anxious, depressed, nervous? The circumstances in life will always be changing. So what seems to be so extreme today is really not, because history repeats itself. It may look different, but there's always something that's going on in the world. There will always be peace. There will always be war. There will always be internal strife. And as much as I'd like to say that one day we won't have any more wars, unless we start communicating better, I don't really see that as an option. Although I can't predict the future. If we can't, as one-on-one individuals, have a conversation and be open to what the other person's perspective is, not meaning that we have to believe it or change, but that we're open, we're listening, I don't see how world peace is an option. So it's up to you, and it's up to me. Do you find yourself, even on social media, are you one of the people who's posting negative posts? Are you posting hate? Is that describing who you are, a person who's filled with hate? The good news is there's time to change. We always get a choice. Every day that we wake up, we can choose how we're going to spend that day. So my suggestion to you, if you are looking to have a peaceful existence, is to look in the mirror. How happy are you with who you are today? And this isn't a contest. No one's going to be sitting there evaluating you if you don't share it with anyone. You can still believe what you believe about yourself, about someone else, about the world, without having to defend your position. And I've talked about this before. We many times get into a pattern of over explaining ourselves. So you believe X and I believe Y, and you believing X and you're not in a place of peace, you feel like you have to explain your position over and over and over again. And me being in a place of peace, I don't feel like I have to defend my position. And I actually don't want to hear you over explaining your position. Just state your position and that's it. When we're listening and we're listening at an elevated level, that doesn't mean that we have to respond to what the other person said. It also doesn't mean that we have to correct the other person, because if you think about it, unless you are an official expert in that area, not just in your own mind, what right do we have to correct someone? We can have a conversation with someone and there's absolutely no closure. No closure. And that makes people feel uncomfortable. Why? Because we want answers. We want them now. We want to know, where do we stand? How do you feel? What's going to happen now? What's the next step? But maybe we're not meant to. Maybe we're just meant to listen and have exposure to what someone believes that's different than what we believe. Recently, I was attending a class. I take a class at the Wharton School of Business, and I shared something about my apartment being flooded twice through no fault of my own. And one of the instructors happened to mention, well, I guess you're going to need a strategy so that you're not flooded again. And I kind of was like, what does that even mean? I mean, it wasn't my fault. One time, the person upstairs who was living there decided to hang their clothes from the sprinklers. And the second time, the person who moved out left the window open and the pipe froze. So naturally, the pipe burst, and then the water went from my apartment all the way down. And yet I thought about it later, and I thought, why is it when the person said that, I felt a little upset? Because I took it personally. That, oh, he wasn't listening, that it wasn't my fault. So he wasn't saying it was my fault or it wasn't my fault. He was saying, what are you going to do? What is your strategy to avoid this happening in the future? And so I caught myself and thought, wow, thank you so much for sharing that, because I hadn't thought about the fact that I have power. I actually can do something. I have choices. We always have choices when we're coming from a place of love. But yet when someone says something to us, we start to retreat. We get defensive or we get offensive. We're going to go into bully mode, or I'm the one who knows, or I'm going to be in control of this conversation. But when we come from a place of love, we're actually in a place of thoughtful consideration. Now, I know that many of you have very strong beliefs about many things. And I don't usually share what my beliefs are because I'm a television host and I own this network, and I don't really think it's fair to say what I think my opinion is about a number of things, because I don't need to isolate anyone because I'm not on a political platform. That being said, many people feel differently. They feel they want you to know exactly how they feel on every topic, and they'll shout it from the rooftops. And my question to you is, are you doing that from a place of love? Are you doing it from a place of fear? When we do it from a place of love, it looks and feels very different than it does when we come from a place of fear. Fear is the ego. Fear is the control, the needing to take control over everything that's going to happen. So I'm going to stand up and tell you exactly what I think. I'm going to get on my pulpit and scream and yell. But what are we actually doing to change the situation? And some people would say, well, I'm screaming and yelling. Who wants to listen to someone scream and yell? Have you ever been in a meeting and you've got someone screaming and yelling at you? Are you really receptive to that? Or are you so far gone emotionally that that feels good to you? And there's no judgment. There are times in life when we've been beaten down so badly, we're so used to being yelled at and screamed at that that becomes normal. But for the majority of people, that isn't a behavior that we find to be pleasant. So when we're coming from a place of peace and love, we know it, we feel it, because we are able to control our emotions. It's not even like it's a job. It just actually happens naturally. So what I'd like you to take away from this episode is the following. There are 3 questions that I ask you to consider before you speak, before you write, before you post, before you make a phone call. Whatever it is that you're going to say, does it fill these 3 requirements? 1, is it kind? 2, is it necessary? And 3, is it true? And is it true not by your standards, but by third-party validation? A third party, an arbitrator, mediator, is it true? Now, you may say to yourself, well, I don't have time to go to a third party. Well, what you do have time is to look at what it is you're going to share. Did you take something and manufacture it into your version of the truth? Did you leave out certain facts? And what's the reason that you need to bring this to someone's attention? Think about all those things. Knowing when to speak so that you are bringing clarity is very different than just talking for the sake of talking. I remember when I was in corporate, we would have meetings, they would happen a certain day of the week, and the same people would always be talking. They'd always have to have the floor. And at first, it would upset me. And then I just thought to myself, I guess They're not getting what they need out of life. So they have to, and that's not a judgment. They just have a need to be heard because they don't feel heard anywhere else. So then I came forward with grace and empathy. And instead of thinking, well, I guess no one wants to hear what I have to say, I thought, you know what I have to say doesn't matter right now because these people really need a place to be heard. When we listen, we don't have to absorb whatever emotions are put out there. We don't have to take them on. And that happens so often. We have a conversation with someone who's going through something, and all of a sudden, whatever it is they're dealing with, whether it's pain, disappointment, upsetment, anxiety, we walk away and we feel just so heavy because we're carrying their emotions with us. But we don't have to do that. We can be an excellent listener and a good partner just by providing a safe space for people to share. And that doesn't mean that we have to take it on. I know when I first started coaching, one of my clients was going through a very hard time, and I started crying during the coaching session. And I thought to myself, what am I doing? And yet I related so much to what the person was sharing, and my heart was just breaking for her. And I just wanted to give her a hug and just fix it and make it better. But yet I was being paid to do a job, and I couldn't keep my emotions in check. So what did I do? I stopped coaching for a while, and I took courses on how to control your emotions, because me being emotional wasn't helping her. And it's the same thing when we're in a scenario and someone says, listen, I really need to vent. I need to talk. I need someone to listen. Do they need compassion and understanding? Absolutely. But do they need you sobbing or, oh, he's this and she's that, and making statements that you really shouldn't be making? No, because they might come back to haunt you. We typically just want someone to listen. But if we're in a place as the listener where we're in a volatile state, we have a lot of drama going on, and we're not at peace, not a good person for the person to be sharing information with, because probably they will walk away from that engagement and feel even more upset because you got personally involved. You started making comments. I told you you shouldn't do this. I told you he was always that. I told you you'd never amount to anything. We make these statements because we're upset, but at the same time, they're very judgmental. And I just shared at the beginning of the show, it can take up to 20 years to forget what someone said. So someone sharing something personal with you, and you come back with, I told you you'd never be anything. And then they are something, and they always remembered that you didn't support them. They always remembered how you revealed yourself about what you really thought about them. So, as we wrap up this segment of Let's Finally Talk, peace is a choice. Conflict is a choice. If you find yourself on a regular basis engaged in conversations that are arguments, who put you there? You did. Some people absolutely love the drama. They may not even be aware of it, but their life is always filled with drama. Do you know anyone like this? Are you like this? That there's never any peace. Everything is coming from a reactionary place. Oh, this happened, that happened. Instead of, okay, this happened. What's the solution? If you find yourself as a person who is living a life that is filled with drama, I want you to ask yourself this. What role are you playing in it? We've certainly seen enough stories, whether it's documentary, network news, social media, about people who have had horrific things happen to them. And yet, in some cases, people have had a mindset that I will do this again. I will walk again. I will work again. Whatever it is, I will sing again. And then they do it. Do you think that they're letting their circumstances define who they are? No. They're saying, you know what? This is a set of circumstances. I've got the mindset, and I'm going to get myself through this situation and onto the other side. Again, it's a choice. Do you choose peace? Do you choose conflict? Do you choose drama? It's up to you. And the good news is every day you get a choice to make a different decision. Or if you are at a place of peace, you get a choice to make the same decision. And like me, I'm a peace ambassador. I get a choice every day to ask you to come from a place of peace, to ask you to give courtesy, grace, and respect to another person. Even if it's a person that you can't stand what they represent, they've wronged you in some way. How can you let go of your anger? How can you forgive them? I didn't say forget. How can you forgive yourself? Until you do, you won't actually know what peace looks like. So when you're watching network news and you're wondering why is there so much strife in the world, it's because there's so many people who are not at peace with themselves. They have given up. They don't want to be good listeners. If we're not listening to each other, if we're not empathizing with one another, if we're not showing compassion for another, how can we expect there to be world peace? That's my final word for today on Let's Finally Talk. If you would like to contact me, you can do so. Here's my information, usaglobaltv.com or drjacalyn.com, or you can email me at drjacalyn@usaglobaltv.com. Thank you so much for being here today. I look forward to seeing you for our next episode. Please do subscribe to our channels. I will put up the show graphic for that. We have 2 YouTube channels, USA Global TV and Radio, and also Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK. Thank you again. And now we're going over to our sponsors. See you soon. Bye.
What if one simple skill could change the way you connect with the world? What if listening could open doors to deeper relationships, stronger businesses, and a better you? Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK, the Listening Mentor, brings you USA Global TV and Radio, a space where voices are heard, ideas are shared, and global communities thrive. Through the elevated listeners' courses and books, you'll master the power of listening, set boundaries with confidence, and transform conversations into opportunities. Join us. Listen, learn, elevate. Whether you're a leader, a coach, a business owner, or someone seeking stronger connections, your journey starts today. Subscribe, learn, and transform today.
Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? In a world quick to judge, one book dares to reveal the hidden cost of silence. Discover Holy but Harmful, The Silent Sin of Judgment, How Hidden Judgments Destroy Relationships and Damage Lives by Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK. The Amazon #1 bestseller that's transforming the way we understand ourselves and the way we see others. Pick up the companion workbook to uncover your own hidden judgments and learn how to break free from them. Available now on Amazon and at fine bookstores worldwide.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care, How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to tracycramperkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.